Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning and how are you all? Today our class topic is secondary memory. Before this, we have discussed about the primary memory, which was a non-volatile memory and store the data temporarily. Now the objectives of this class are: what is a secondary memory, purpose of secondary memory, difference between primary and secondary memory. First of all, the question, what is secondary memory? Actually, we need some storage device that is not temporary in nature and that does not have the same restrictions of size as that of main memory, which was a non-volatile memory. Such a device is called secondary storage device. Secondary storage device is used to store the data permanently. If you see on your screen, then you can see this secondary memory or secondary storage device is divided into two categories. The first one is fixed devices and the second one is removable devices. If we talk about the fixed devices is further divided into two categories, or the types of the fixed devices are hard disk drive, which is called the HDD or CD, or your DVD drives, and the removable devices mean to say that you can easily carry from one place to another, that are your pen drives, which are also called the flash drives or the USB drives, and second are your Blu-ray discs or the DVDs also. The most common types of secondary memory are hard disk, floppy disk, compact disk, tape drives, and USB storage media that are mostly used as secondary memory or secondary storage devices. The first part of the secondary memory is hard disk. Hard disk is the most important storage area of computer. Most digital computers use at least one hard disk drive. Some large-scale computers normally contain hundreds of hard disks. Hard disks are used to permanently store digital data, so you can say that hard disks give computer the ability to remember things when the power goes out. Nowadays, typical desktop computers has a hard disk with a capacity of more than 128 GB, 500 GB, 1 TB, 2 GB, 4 TB etc. storage capacity. Data is stored onto the disk in the form of files. A file is simply a named collection of bytes which consist of bits that are used to store the data into the computer. The bytes might be the ASCII codes for the character of a text file, or they could be the instructions of a software application for the computer, or they could be the stored information, or they could be the pixels colors for an image. There are two ways to measure the performance of a hard disk. First one is data rate and the second one is seek time. If we talk about the data rate is the number of bytes per second that the drive can deliver to the CPU. Rates between 5 and 40 megabytes per second are common. On the other hand, if you see the seek time, the time used to move the head to the appropriate track after reading the address is called the seek time. A typical hard disk consists of a sealed metallic box with controller circuit on one side. The hard disk controller is responsible for read and write mechanism and for retrieving storing data on the hard disk. The data storage part of the hard disk consists of one or more metallic circular platter. It is important to note that both sides of the platter have their own read and write heads. The hard disk controller uses these heads to store and retrieve data from the disk. By arranging data on multiple platters, the performance of the hard disk can also increase. And if you see on the picture of the hard disk given on your slide, I have divided the hard disk parts and give the names to them, like this is your platter area, second one is your spindle area, third is called the head, four is actuator arm, fifth one is actuator axis, then power connector, jump block, IDE connector and actuators. Now the question is, how hard disk work with the help of these parts. If you see on the slide, in step 1, the circuit board controls the movement of the head, actuator and a small motor. In step 2, a small motor which is in the center of your platter spins the platters while the computer is running. In step 3, when software requests disk access, the read and write heads determine the current or new location of the data. It depends on your requirement whether you want to store the file or you want to find the previous file. In step 4, the head actuator positions the read and write head arms over the correct location on the platters to read or write the data. The second part of the secondary memory is floppy disk. It is also used to store the data, but it is not commonly using now. A floppy disk are mostly used for transferring data between computer systems and for casual backup of data. They have actually low capacity and are very slow as compared to other storage devices like hard disk or USBs. The most common size is 3.5 inches diameter. A floppy disk is a magnetic storage medium that consists of a circular piece of thin, flexible magnetic media encased in a square or rectangular plastic wallet. Floppy disks are read and write by a floppy disk drive or FDD. Unlike most hard disks, the floppy disks are portable. Floppy disks are slower to access than hard disks and have less storage capacity, but they are much less expensive than hard disks. Floppies come in three basic sizes, that is 8 inches, 5 hole 1 by 4 inches and 3 hole 1 by 2 inches, but the last one is the most commonly used size, that is 5 hole 1 by 4 inches. One of the most prominent optical storage system in the secondary memory is the compact disc. Compact discs replaced floppy disks because they were more faster and could hold more information than floppy disks. These disks are approximately 5 inches in diameter and consist of reflective material covered with a clear protective coating. The CD is commonly used to store data. CD is usually called CD-ROM, compact disc read-only memory. It can store 650 MBs or 700 MBs of data and are very useful for storing audio and video data on it. On CD, information is basically stored in the form of tracks. It is used to distribute different software products, for example, operating systems, movies, sounds, music, etc. Tape storage or tape drives. This is an old form of mass storage device that uses magnetic tape. In a magnetic tape, information is recorded on the magnetic coating of a plastic tape. To access the data, this tape is mounted in a device called a tape drive that can read, write, and rewind the tape. Tape drives have different sizes ranging from very small cartridge units that use tape similar in appearance to that in stereo systems to large reel to reel units. The capacities of these devices vary a lot, and some tapes can hold several gigabytes of data. But they are using in the past, they are not common now. We are using mostly CDs and USB drives to store the data. USB storage media. USB stands on Universal Serial Bus, which is a common interface that enables communication between devices to your personal computers. It connects your peripheral devices such as digital cameras, mic, keyboards, printers, scanner, media devices, external hard drives, and flash drives. Because of its wide variety of uses, including support for electrical power, the USB has replaced a wide range of interfaces like the parallel and serial port also that we have already discussed in chapter number 2. It is also called a plug and play device. Plug and play enables the operating system to spontaneously configure and discover a new peripheral device without having to restart your computer. And USBs may also be used to send power to certain devices such as smartphones and tablets as well as charge their batteries. Now it's your homework time. You read this question carefully and attempt your answer and upload it in your Google Classroom or on your WhatsApp group.